That's right. You are on cruise control. Welcome, everyone. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We are glad we are taking on a ride around the automotive industry. That's what we love to do on your on-air automotive magazine, Cruise Control. Got a lot to get to, Les. A lot of the news is coming out of Shanghai, China, because it was the auto show there. And we're going to have plenty of reveals because, frankly, that's one of the only places that you can have a car show.
That's right. Is that becoming the biggest car show in the world?
I don't know, but I know they made at Volkswagen, they made an SUV that is so big, it's even too big for America.
Again, I just don't believe you.
Okay. Well,
but I'll take you at your word, but
yep. Well, you got a story on Toyota getting into the electric crossover game.
Well, they continue getting heavily into the electric crossovers, and Honda says it's going all electric by 2040. I bet it happens before that.
Yeah, I would bet too. And it's interesting also, GM said this week they're going to keep internal combustion engines around past 2035. So a lot of fluid situations, going on in the automotive world. We'll tell you all about it. But Genesis goes electro-lux with its G80 electric vehicle. Great vehicle. That's going to be cool. Yeah.
Boy, I wish I had money. Anyway, VW prices out its Taos Crossover. Great name for a crossover. And of course, shows off the mega SUV, the Hinden SUV, Gargantua.
I believe it's an 8-row SUV.
That's called a bus.
Yeah, well, they say it's too big for the U.S. We'll talk about that, what they mean, and why is it a great time to sell a used car? Apparently, people that have extra used cars are being told just sell it and you'll make a lot of money.
Yeah, but you got to replace it.
Well, if you have an extra car just sitting around, maybe you're not commuting anymore, you know?
Good point.
Yeah.
And Fred told you earlier about everything you need to know about Overlanding, and we're going to have it's a documentary on the FYI and History Channel. And you got us a guest to talk all about it, didn't you?
Yeah, Sean Gorman is Land Rover's test guy. He is a test and engineering consultant, and he's going to join us and tell us why the best part of overlanding is getting there. And I always felt that. I mean, you go on a road trip, it's the best part of the trip is getting there. You know,
great.
Yeah, if you're a car person or a truck person. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com, where you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. It's all there, and we will be right back. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson. A lot to get to, a lot of reveals, so stay tuned. Yeah, what I was alluding to before, I read this article. It was somewhere, some Hawaiian paper, that cars in Maui last week, a compact car was renting for over $700 a day. So what people are doing is they're going to U-Haul and getting trucks, which are still $20, $25 a day. You know, those little box trucks, the cutoff van trucks.
Oh, yeah, the little ones. Okay.
Yeah. And they're driving them around on their vacation. I mean, I love it. People will always find a way, won't they?
Well, sure. I mean, $700 a day for a rental car. I think it'd be cheaper to just hire a limo driver.
Yeah, I think so too. And $700, you probably could get over a month of rentals for that in the old days, right?
Yeah. You know what I would do? I would rent a scooter.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I wouldn't want to do that on Bermuda, though. I remember being on a bus.
I've done it. I've done it twice.
I remember being on a bus, Les, and the bus was right. I was sitting right up in front of the bus, and the bus was literally inches from the guy's back wheel because the guy
Yeah.
was new and was just getting used to it. And I remember saying, I would not like to be that guy.
I have done it. Had 2 trips to Bermuda. I've rented scooters both times.
And
But
you,
you know me, I have no fear because I'm too silly and stupid to worry about it.
no problem whatsoever navigating around.
No, not at all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at least you wouldn't have to pay $700 or over $700. When will
Good
all
point.
this get back to normal? I don't know. I really don't. But you know what? They're going to price themselves out of the market at $700.
Yeah.
I know.
What about Uber?
Well, I don't know if they have it in Hawaii. I guess they do, but that would certainly be cheaper. That would
Hmm.
be probably, depending on where you go, it'd probably be like 10, 15 rides, you know?
Wouldn't be $700.
It wouldn't be $700, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So we'll talk about that, but we'll also talk about why it's a great time to sell your used car. Apparently, Carvana is selling a car every 2.2 minutes. So that's
Whew.
you're going to bring us
Wow.
in, Les, I believe. Yes.
Okay. Welcome back to Cruise Control. Les and Fred here. We promised you to fill you in on the vehicles revealed at the Shanghai Auto Show, the only big auto show running currently in the world
Yeah.
because of, we all know why.
Yep.
But a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, Les, and big announcement from Toyota. They are going to bring out, or they showed off a concept, all-wheel drive, all-electric SUV. Toyota, of course, has been a little late in the game to tip its toe into it. They call it, and I hope they have a new name for it, the Toyota BZ4X BEV.
Wow.
Has a ring to it, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I would hope that they would change that to something else, but I think they will. But it really looks like the RAV4 in many ways, and there's not a lot of information on this, but Toyota says they are committed to carbon neutrality by 2050, but they hope to have 70 models, electric models, released by 2025, and including 15 new battery electric vehicles, 7 of which will be Toyota BZ models. That is a huge number of vehicles, electric vehicles, in a short period of time, isn't it?
It is, but you stand by. We're going to see a lot of that.
Yep, but please call it something other than BZ4X.
I just hate these letter designations.
Some manufacturers feel that electric cars need these letters, and I just think it's terrible. It's also weird that it is little b, capital Z for capital X.
It's just, no.
No, I don't think so.
Bad idea.
But the vehicle looks nice. The vehicle looks nice.
It does.
The one thing about it, the front end is almost completely vertical, which style-wise, and also I see that there is no grill on it, and that's my pet peeve, isn't it? I talk about electric cars should have some kind of grill other than just a big flat area. I guess there's a little grill on there, but it just looks like it lacks detail. And the fact that the front is almost flat, aerodynamically, it's like driving a bulldozer, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but still, it there's great appeal for sure.
for that type of look. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really mind a flat look so much. If it had no grill, it would be horrible.
Yeah, at least it has a little bit of a grill. Hey, let's talk about Honda announcing this week that they will go all electric by 2040. It's going to develop 2 new EV models, and they're not going to do away with their hydrogen vehicles. They're going to keep them going, which is good to hear, isn't it?
Well, 2040 is too far away. As you know, for years I've been predicting passenger vehicles are going to be all electric by 2030. I still maintain that.
Mm-hmm.
There are many, many reasons for this. But, Honda is a world market, and maybe certain countries, they'll still offer gas models.
Well, here's an interesting angle on this. They're going to license GM's Ultium battery pack architecture, and GM is going to help them develop 2 large-size EV models, one which will sell under the Honda brand, while the other will wear the Acura badge. So while they're kind of getting into the electric vehicle situation late, much like Toyota, they are teaming up with General Motors, which we always said is the smart thing to do in the automotive business, isn't it?
It is. These are very complex components. For the economy of scale, you've just got to join in.
Yeah, yeah, and it makes sense why reinvent the wheel. I have seen. We're talking tremendously about electric vehicles overall in the automotive industry, but in the last year or so, autonomous vehicles, not so much. Not so many people talking about it.
Less of it,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So, hey, but we've got plenty more to talk about.
Except the crashes.
Except the crashes, yeah. We got plenty more to talk about on Cruise Control, including a Genesis electric vehicle and more. So stay tuned. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Cruise Control. Les and Fred here. We're talking about all the stuff going on at Shanghai, but specifically electric vehicles. And one of our, maybe our favorite vehicle, Genesis, is the electrified G80 is coming up. And boy,
they make
me want.
They make beautiful vehicles, don't they, Genesis?
Well, they're just beautifully engineered too.
Yeah, and it has a grill. And that's the key thing. It's an electric vehicle with a grill. I have to say, I had one of their big cars. I had their G80. I had their G90, and they are just beautiful cars. They're just nice, comfortable cars. And I had their GV80, of course, which is their SUV. Have you been in any of these Genesis lately?
Not in over a year.
Yeah. Well, they are great. Once you get into them, you're going to love them. But let's talk about this, the fact that they are building this electric GV or G80. GV would be for their crossover. G80 is for their electric cars. It is quite the interesting vehicle, released, of course, in Shanghai this week. And we don't have a lot of information about this other than it will have the fast charge to 80% in 22 minutes, which seems now to be the standard thing. You have to have ability to charge up to 80-85%. It will come standard with all-wheel drive and have a 0 to 60 time of 4.9 seconds. And it has, for the all-wheel drive system, something I love this, a DAS, a disconnector actuator system that can connect or disconnect the motor and drive shaft based on different driving conditions. So it can switch between rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive to reduce unnecessary power loss. And do we have range on this? Let's see. I think we might. It does have all the goodies that you get in the G8, including active noise, road control, and things like that. I don't think we have a range on this yet. Well, they call it more than 500 kilometers. Les, what's the
500 kilometers would
Yeah.
be 300 miles.
Okay, so that's what they're estimating the range, but that's based on the Korean EV certification system. We don't know what that will be when it comes to the U.S., but it certainly, most assuredly, will come to the U.S. The grill has to be there, that shield grill, because if it wasn't there, it wouldn't be a Genesis vehicle. It's there, and it's just more decorative than actually functional, in a sense that it's not needed as a traditional grill. But yeah, beautiful car. That will be one to drive. I'm sure it will be incredible. It will be like having an S-Class Mercedes for a lot less money, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, and remember, these things have a 10-year warranty.
Yeah, exactly. Gets the great warranty there. Coming up now, we got to talk about a vehicle from Volkswagen. How do you say it? The Taos?
Talagon.
Well, the Taos is the
Oh, you mean the Taos? I'm sorry, the very small crossover.
Yeah, they say it's larger though than the Tiguan, which was formerly the small crossover. We have some pricing information on this. $22,995. Not a bad price. It's powered by 158 horsepower, 1.5 liter turbo 4 in front wheel drive or 4Motion. Nice little vehicle for that price. I like that price. That's a good price.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to get more information on this. It's going to be available in the S, the SE, and the SEL. SEL are priced at $31,490 for front wheel drive, $33,445 for 4Motion. SE, which will probably be the crux of the matter, $27,245 for front wheel drive, $28,695 for 4Motion, which is all wheel drive. I bet that is going to be the one that is the big seller, but still not a bad price for under $30,000. You get all of that Volkswagen goodness in a smaller package. But why stay with a smaller package when you can have something that sounds like a delicious salad? The Talagon, right?
Yes, that's right. If you happen to want to bring your horse with you,
if you have pet horses, yes.
Yeah. It's a big SUV, but actually, I've been studying the dimensions. I think the Ford Expedition is bigger.
Yeah. Now this is going to be a 7-seat SUV. It measures 202 inches long, 78.8 inches wide, 70 inches high on a 117.3-inch wheelbase. It is bigger than the Atlas, and let's see, the Atlas is 198.3 inches. This is 202 inches. It's not coming to the U.S.
That's 16 feet, 1 inch.
It's not coming to the U.S., though. They say it's too big.
Well, it's 78 inches wide. That's pretty wide.
Yeah. Up to 6 or 7 occupants inside. A dual screen setup similar to the Golf's, a floating center console, a 2.5 liter V6, and is what powers it. There are several options that will be available, including a 2.5 liter V6. This is only going to be available in China. So we'll talk.
Wonder why.
We'll talk about that. Well, for now, you never know if it's.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess the Atlas is selling well. They don't want to mess with the Atlas.
Sells great.
Is the key thing here. So, hey, why is it a great time to sell your used car? Interesting study here. Interesting article. According to Car Gurus, in the last 3 months, used car prices have jumped more than 6%. Pickup trucks and SUVs are up expectedly, but sedans are up 6% as well. And
Hmm.
no one buys sedans, according to this article from Carbuzz. The average price for a used car is now $23,816.
That's kind of what I would want to pay for a new one.
Yeah. So the average price for a trade-in is up from $14,000 a year ago to $17,000 now. And what's interesting is this article also says Carvana, of course, they are famous for their car vending machines and bringing the car to you, is selling a new car at a rate of one every 2.2 minutes. Wouldn't you like the cash from that just from one day?
Just for one day.
Yeah. So the problem is there are not a lot of cars around. The new cars are being held up due to chip shortages. There's a big demand for people coming out wanting to buy a new car, and they're just not around. And so it's supply and demand. Even that ship that blocked the Suez Canal is still causing problems for the average buyer.
They have an example here that a 2014 Mustang GT sold for $24,000.
Only $6,000 less than what they paid for it.
That's 7 years old.
And a lot of people are saying if you have a car like that, let's say you have that Mustang sitting there and you're not using it, you can sell it, if it's an extra car and make some money.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It really is amazing. So, it is a trend. Will it last forever? Les Jackson, it will not last forever. So if you have cars kicking around, you better sell them. Hey, when we come back, we're going to tell you all you need to know about Overlanding. It's a great new documentary on FYI and the History Channel. Sean Gorman, who knows everything about Land Rovers, is going to join us. So stay tuned to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson, and we've been joined by Sean Gorman, who is Land Rover's off-road test and engineering consultant. And Les and I had a chance to watch a great doc this week. Matter of fact, we have a link up on our Cruise Control Facebook page. It's called All You Need to Know About Overlanding. And this is a topic that's been getting a lot of coverage lately, and it's pretty exciting to me because, well, I did a lot. I did RVing, which is not overlanding, but I also did camping outdoors when I was in the Boy Scouts. So I understand being out under the stars at night. And as I mentioned, this great documentary that we had a chance to see. And now we have someone that has a chance to be part of it, and that is Sean Gorman. Welcome to Cruise Control, Sean. How are you?
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
Yeah, the documentary was a lot of fun. I mean, what car guy or truck guy wouldn't want to take some Land Rover Defenders, brand new Land Rover Defenders, and go off on an incredible road trip and make a great documentary about it?
Yeah, it was a great time. We had a great time making it, and it's a perfect car for it. But also, it's just a great opportunity. It's not something very often that you get, a major network who really is interested in it. And Christian Murphy, the guy who was the main host there, he's actually an A&E executive, so it's pretty cool thing to do, to take an executive from one of the networks out and really be able to show him kind of what I do and what Scott does, and put that together into I think it turned out to be a really nice piece, actually.
It's beautifully filmed. It makes you want to go on this trip, because of course, I've never done this. I mean, I've camped out a few times, and mostly spent a lot of time in drive-in theaters, so
That
I don't think that counts. But I mean, this is just it just looks like so much fun, and you're taking your time every day. You're seeing what's there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think what's really amazing about it is that overlanding is this big segment of the off-road industry that has really kind of boomed in the last 10 years, but it's not really a new thing either. I mean, historically, especially here in the US, I mean, we talk a lot about overlanding in Australia and things like that, but the reality is that the US has a huge history going back to the late teens and 20s of tour and using automobile tourism, and that's part of what really built our national park system. And I think for me personally, the fun part of what I do is, I get to work with cars and car companies, car manufacturers to help them build cars that do things better. But it also allows just an average normal driver a lot more capability and access to the backcountry, which to me is a very important part and something that we kind of take for granted here in the States because we have so much federal land that we have access to.
You know, what's interesting is the documentary talks a little bit about the beginnings of it all. And Christian Murphy, who is one of the folks, as you mentioned, the executive that's on the show, he talked about it starting in Australia. And I had a laugh because it was kind of like herding cattle with Land Rovers, which is an interesting concept, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, right, overlanding, I mean, really, as it relates to us in this country in particular, I mean, I guess really could go back to the pioneers crossing the plains and heading to the west. I mean, it's the idea of, being able to be self-sufficient in the backcountry and try to be as comfortable as possible. And I think that's kind of where it's morphed to where we're at today with it, which is the scope has gotten very wide. When I first got into it, kind of was more of a tool to get out into the backcountry, and now you look in and you go to things like Overland Expo, and these it's become quite a cult following. But you have huge vans all the way to unimogs and what I call land yachts. They're basically off-road RVs at that point. So there's quite a big gamut, and I think it's kind of neat because you have the ability to get people who would typically be a slightly averse to going out into the backcountry because they'd be uncomfortable or things like that. But it gives them access to that. So you can get out there and kind of see our country and see the world a bit, and at the same time be able to get off the pavement.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you really, and it's hard to do today to get away from everyone, but this is what I think the appeal of overlanding is. And I think that's why the documentary was so good. I mean, it really is a how-to of how to overland, what you have to do. I mean, if people want to get involved with this, let's take us through. What did you guys do? You really you started off with Land Rover Defenders, a great thing to start with as a piece of kit.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the average person, the reality is if you have a semi-capable off-roader, and honestly, it doesn't really even need to be an off-roader. To be fair, there's a lot of people that have a Subaru Forester,
They're
Subaru.
pretty capable. They're actually pretty capable. Yeah,
they absolutely are, and especially here in the western part of the U.S. I live here in Colorado, and you get in Colorado, Utah, up into Wyoming, and things like that. There's so much forest road and what I would call semi-improved roads that a car is completely capable to do. And I think that if you start with what you have, and then as you start to get more invested and involved in it, it's worth, it might be worth investing, but it's a progress. I don't think you need to go out and buy a brand new car. You don't need to go out and buy, you don't need to go buy a brand new Defender and totally deck it out with everything. I mean, the reality is that, the more capable the car and the more capable you become driving the car, the more access you have. And so what you'll typically find is you'll get to a point and you're like, I wish I could go there, but I don't have the stuff to do it. And then you can start to put the kit together to be able to get there.
Can you tow a trailer like we just saw in the video? Can you tow something over the majority of those roads?
Well, that's kind of an interesting one. So You can. I mean, the challenges off road with a trailer are are exponentially different. So,
Okay.
like a lot of the stuff that you saw on the show that we did, it would be really hard to do with a trailer. Now, the thing to remember, and the thing that's great about a trailer is that, so it's like most things in life. There's pros and cons. So, the good thing about a trailer is that if you're into the type of thing where you go somewhere, you park, you can set up your camp, you can set up your trailer, and you can leave it and then go kind of do day trips or get access to other places. But me personally, if I were going on a really long trip, self-supported, I'd probably try to avoid a trailer, just because at some point it's going to become a problem. But like I said, I see a lot of people with them out there, and I feel for them trying to pull that thing around.
We are speaking with Sean Gorman, who is Land Rover's off-road test and engineering consultant. And the name of the show, which you can see, we actually have a link up on our Facebook page, or Cruise Control Facebook page. It's called All You Need to Know About Overlanding. It aired on FYI and the History Channel. We have a link on our Facebook page. It's going to air again, by the way, on May 19th. I understand in expanded form. So maybe we'll hear more about those great lamb shanks that were cooked later on in the show. Maybe we'll get
Yeah,
a full cooking lesson from Christian there. What do you think, Sean?
yeah, the lamb shanks were pretty awesome.
Well, let's talk about you. You prep for this event. You prep for this trip, road trip. I thought of my co-host Les because they said the line said something like you got to bring a lot of stuff, important things, and I saw a bag of Lay's potato chips. So he likes Lay's. It's like
Yep.
only the important things. Yes. And then you set off on the road. You went to Sedona, I believe, was one of the first stops. I love that
Yep.
because that's where I went on my honeymoon, and beautiful red rocks, tons of hiking, tons of trails. They have a lot of vendors that do rides, off-road rides in there. What was that like? And I think probably one of the things we should point out, and one of the best points you made along the way is it doesn't always go to plan, and that's kind of the good thing. It doesn't always say like, okay, Tuesday we'll be here at 7 a.m. and then we'll do this. Sometimes, like you get out into the middle of nowhere and there's a locked gate.
Yeah, that stuff does happen, and I think that is part of the fun part of overlanding. Really, is you know, I it's that feeling of being self sufficient. So if you get someplace and something happens, and I mean, the reality is that's part of the responsibility that we take when we do travel into the backcountry. You know, particularly if you travel alone, is that you better really know what you're doing, and you better really have the right stuff to be able to handle it, because there may or may not be somebody who can come and tow you out, you know?
All right. Well, hold it right there, Sean. We'll be right back with more about this great documentary that you can see on the FYI channel. It's called All You Need to Know About Overlanding. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson. More cruise control coming up after this. And welcome back to Cruise Control. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson, and we're joined by Sean Gorman, Land Rover's off-road test and engineering consultant. We are talking about this great documentary that you can check out on the FYI channel. All You Need to Know About Overlanding. It's a documentary. It's been on the History Channel as well. We have a link up on our page, Facebook page, so go check it out. And really great footage, amazing footage, and a road trip show where you go way off road. We were talking, Sean, you were in Sedona, Arizona,
Yep.
and then you head on over to one of the most amazing areas of the U.S., the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, the Grand Canyon, it's one of those just kind of epic spots, and particularly in the North Rim, which is an area that doesn't get explored near as much as the South Rim, where the visitor centers are and such. And the North Rim is a cool area in the fact that you can actually camp right up on the rim, and it's much more isolated and remote compared to the South.
Yeah, you ever think of what I wanted to look this up before we did this segment, but what was it like when someone came over the ridge and they got into a little clearing and saw this for the first time? You know, whoever discovered it. I mean, what do you think they said?
They probably were trying to get to the other side somehow.
It's
And
like,
like,
oh
Yeah.
no.
now
But now what do we do?
this is going to take a little longer than we thought, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got to stay basically right on the rim, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, we did. We camped right up on the rim. Kind of interesting, just trying to get film permits and to do that. Not so much to camp there, but to be able to film it's kind of interesting. There was a very hard line that we were not allowed to cross, so
okay.
a lot of that imagery is all from one direction, which is kind of funny little behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Can the average person that's not doing a documentary, can they get that close out there at
Yeah,
overlanding?
yeah, absolutely. So that's a Bureau of Land Management and National Forest land. So um, basically, every U.S. citizen owns that land and has access to it. We can go out there and enjoy that. There are certain times of the year, particularly in the winter, that area is closed because of snow, and you can't get into it then. But yeah, if it's open, you can cruise down there, and anybody can camp in that area.
And of course,
Did you
tread
did you
lightly, as
run
I was
in
going to
did you run into any interesting critters
say.
on the trip?
We didn't really, no, not particularly. I mean, we didn't really see any snakes. We did see a few scorpions at night. They were kind of, they keep to themselves, and no, nothing really, really crazy or wild.
Yeah.
No bears or anything.
Yeah. Well, who were your three folks that you mentioned? Christian Murphy, who is an executive at A&E, and the other fellow along there with the ride was.
Yeah, that's Scott Brady, and Scott, he started and founded a magazine. Oh, I don't know, it's probably 12 or 15 years ago now, called Overland Journal, which is kind of the international publication of overlanders and people who travel the world via vehicle. Um, yeah, it's a great magazine. Honestly, if you've never seen it, you should check it out. It's like a travel log, and it's only published 4 or 5 times a year, but it's fantastic. It's real legitimate stuff. So
And one of the things you did, you went for a ride in the sand, and I learned from this that the good rule of thumb when airing down your tires, if you have 16-inch wheels, take it down to 16 pounds. I never knew that.
yeah, that's something that I teach. I spent quite a lot of time in the Middle East doing engineering and testing with cars, and I think it's just a really good rule of thumb is that's a good place to start. I mean, our thing we always worry about in the sand is you're a little bit faster, you have a little bit more momentum, and it's not that difficult to pull a tire or have one come off the bead of the rim.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you start with that idea of whatever your wheel size is, it's a pretty safe estimate that you're going to be fine, that you're not going to roll that off.
Hence the reason why a lot of people use bead locks. So,
Correct. Yeah.
basically the wheel is clamped on there, screwed into it, and it's not gonna come off. Sort of like a drag car. That's what they do with them. They actually put sheet metal screws through the beads so they don't come off. Um, I tell you, the documentary is great because you get the feel for the road trip, you get the feel for the fun, you get the feel for Christian learning more about off-roading. I don't know what his background was with off-roading, but he got a lot of great tips. Rock climbing, I've always been rock crawling, I should say. I've always been amazed at that, the capability. And we were saying during the break that you and I probably have driven together, and I remember going on a trail like it's through the woods, and I was like, I would never bring my new Land Rover or any new thing through the woods because it's
Yeah.
like there's a real good chance you're going to readjust the sheet metal in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's for sure. The funny thing about doing all that driving is that you start to see kind of what the cars are actually capable of, and I think that's kind of part of the fun, right? Is like it's overlanding is really about adventure travel and being able to use a car as the tool to provide that. And I think that for those of us that like cars, like you two and I do, this is a really nice compromise and a good blend of a lot of things that we probably enjoy.
Talk about the Defender a little bit. I mean, of course, the Defender was I would call it the blood and guts Land Rover before old school, like a seat and a shift and a steering wheel and metal everywhere. But this new one is quite different.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got a couple old ones, and it's just a really iconic car, right? I mean, typically, if you think of going to Africa or crossing the Kalahari or something, you think about the shape of an old Defender, and that car was in production quite a long time. And if you really think of Land Rover, that the car kind of dates back really to square one with the business and the brand. And so this car is a huge technological step forward as to what the car does from a technology standpoint. And I think you could make the argument that it's probably a more capable car. I can tell you it's a lot more capable when it comes to being on the road. It's a lot more comfortable, and you saw it pulling those trailers and things like that. And the old cars, they're a much more tractor-like. And
Tractor-like. That's what yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good description of it. It's a lot more tractor-like. And the reality is that for the way that most of us use a car from day to day, is that the new Defender is just the perfect ticket for it. I mean, it really is designed for overlanding and that kind of use. It's designed more for that than it is to be a big rock crawler. It's really not designed to have 37-inch tires and huge flexi suspension and stuff. It's a much more medium to heavy duty type build, designed to carry weight distances versus being long and flexy and just going out to Moab and kind of seeing what it can do.
With two people in it, how much can you store in it, and how long can you stay out in it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly what the gross vehicle weight is on the car, but to give you some conceptually, is that you can put I'm a pretty big guy. I'm about 250 pounds. You can put 4 of me in there and have plenty of gear on it and still be under gross vehicle weight, which is actually quite rare these days in the automotive world, unless you start getting into trucks.
Yeah, I like the tent, the rooftop tent. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. The rooftop tents are a funny thing because here in Colorado where I live, you're starting to see rooftop tents on everything. I saw one yesterday on a minivan.
It's a house.
So yeah. And what's cool about, again, there's pros and cons to everything. So the beauty of the rooftop tent is it opens up an area, and a lot of people who would be uncomfortable to normally camp feel real comfortable in a rooftop tent. They're not on the ground and those kinds of things. And me personally, I have a rooftop tent on my car, and I still probably mostly sleep on the ground. I find
the way you like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just quicker. Yeah.
The name of the doc is called All You Need to Know About Overlanding. It's on FYI and the History Channel. Sean, we appreciate you coming on the radio show. Really good information. And check out that doc. You can check out a link on our Facebook page. So, time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road. Take care.
Bye.